Welcome to Fight Guide, where we take a professional look at martial arts. Today, we're going to be going over 5 steps that anyone should take when they start their career in MMA if they want to make it all the way to the UFC. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, my name is Bryce. I'm an attorney, a martial artist, and I also represent some of MMA fighters that you may have seen all the way from Strikeforce to Bellator to the UFC. So today I'm going to be going over 5 steps that anyone should take if they want to start a career in MMA and have a lot of success to make it to the top. Your first step is kind of obvious. You got to select a good gym. Your gym needs to have quality instructors that not only have the requisite information to get you to the top, but they're also able to give it to you in an efficient manner. Sometimes you can run into world championship level coaches, but for some reason, they're not able to communicate with you effectively. And that way it could take you a lot longer to learn from them than it would be under someone that you actually vibe with. So find a place that's got good instructors that vibe with you and that you're able to learn from in an efficient manner. Also, when selecting a gym, you want to find one that's got a great atmosphere, somewhere that you like being. Because no matter what, if you want to be a mixed martial artist, you're going to be in the gym more than you are anywhere else in the world. So find one that you want to be at. Step 2 is we got to start taking fights. Unless you're a former WWE champion, you're probably not going to get into the UFC without taking some fights. So the first thing you need to do is you need to use your gym connections to go ahead and get in with a local promoter. From there, you should be able to take your first 1 or 2 fights. Your first few fights is not taking on opponents where you can really showcase your skill level. It's just about getting comfortable with the sport. MMA is a really weird, unique sport. Nowhere else are you going to have to get inside your underwear and fight in a cage in front of hundreds of people. So you need to get used to it. So those first few fights, I would almost recommend that you don't fight good opponents. I'd recommend that you find opponents that are manageable and that you can get used to competing in front of a large crowd. The second hack for competing on the local level is you need to be able to sell a decent amount of tickets so that you can continue to get fights and favorable matchups. If you're able to sell 40 tickets, you should be able to get regular fights. If you're able to sell a lot of tickets, and that's something I can discuss with you in strategies on how to do on a later video, you'll not only be able to get fights, you'll be able to pick your opponent. So using good key ticket selling strategies will be able to give you a good foundation on your mixed martial arts career where you can take yourself to 1 to 5-0 with little trouble. Your next step is you're going to need to go ahead and find a manager. You're probably around 5-0 right now and you're feeling really great about your MMA future. However, if you've been in this sport long enough, you know a guy who's got a really fancy record who's never gotten to the UFC. You want to know why that is? He's fighting crappy opponents in little rundown shows. In order to get into those bigger shows and have better opportunities, it's better if you get a manager. I know this is probably not always the easiest decision, as there's a lot of unsavory characters out there. But the proof is in the pudding. Fighters that have managers, their career trajectory goes much faster than those that don't. So getting a manager will help get you into the mid-major promotions, televised, and will also create a good bridge to facilitate your relationship with the big promotions like the UFC. Step 4, you're going to have to build value marking points in your career. The UFC matchmakers don't have time to scout fighters from around the world. They just don't. You need to create value markers so that your manager can point to this when he's talking to the UFC matchmakers. What that usually entails is taking a fight against an opponent that was usually formerly in the UFC. That way they can get a gauge on where you stand right now. There are also a fair number of mid-major promotions, which are regular feeders to the UFC. If you're able to go ahead and win a title in one of these feeder leagues to the UFC, it's a great indicator that you're ready to go there. You might not get pulled right away, but if you're able to hold that level and hold that belt for a sustained period of time, your manager should have a good opportunity to put you in the door if it opens. The last step is to seize the opportunity. This is one that fighters miss a lot of the time because the UFC has opportunities that open sporadically. People fall out of fights, they get injured, they get cut, and sometimes the UFC needs a fight on short notice. If you're able to stay ready and fill in one of these spots, you'll get a UFC contract on the spot. This is a great opportunity, if you're ready for it, to showcase who you really are in front of the whole world. How do you do that? By staying ready. The best chance you have to seizing one of these opportunities is to have your medicals in order and to be on weight. The UFC has other types of programming, such as the Contender Series, where Dana White's looking for a fight. Formerly, they had the Ultimate Fighter. Those programs were designed to introduce you to the UFC audience, and if you showcased your skills correctly, you were able to get into the UFC. those opportunities are seasonal. If you have a good manager at this point, you should be able to audition or have your affairs in order so when those opportunities present themselves, you can get in the door. All right, guys, I know this is a short breakdown of these steps. I'm going to be making content and going over further where I can break down each point individually and give you a lot more substantial info. So if you're interested in this sort of thing, go ahead and give us a like, subscribe below. Also, leave me a comment below on what other topics you might want us to get into, because we're going to be taking a professional look at all aspects of martial arts. So stay tuned.